Well, Alberto is strengthening and it could become a hurricane for the third time today. Plus, a new tropical depression has been named in the Atlantic, or not named, but has formed. Possibly could become Tropical Storm Chris not too long from now. We'll check that out here on the Tropical Update. First, the big picture, and that system parked in the middle of your screen with a developing eye is Alberto, which is just below hurricane status. Top sustained winds 65 miles per hour. It's made a loop around a high pressure system in the mid-Atlantic and is now heading off towards the northwest. We'll take a northerly turn today and then head back towards cooler water and weaken again after at least briefly attaining hurricane status again. At least that is the possibility during the first half of the day today. As we head to the tropical South Atlantic, a couple of systems bear watching, especially this one, some 470 miles east of Guadeloupe in the islands, because the potential is there for TD number 6 to attain tropical storm and then eventually hurricane status within the next couple of days. Here's the latest on Alberto: 33.7 north, 47.4 west, 1,110 miles west-southwest of the Azores in the mid-Atlantic. Top sustained winds 65 miles per hour. And then there's tropical depression number 6. It's located now east of Guadeloupe. Top sustained winds 35. The movement is off to the west-northwest at about 8 miles per hour. The pressure estimated at 1,009 millibars. Nice flare-up of thunderstorm activity here, signifying the potential that there could be some strengthening, intensification, organization taking place with now TD6. Now the forecast is for this system to become tropical storm and then potentially Hurricane Chris, but stay north of the islands and then eventually in the long range make a turn like Alberto did, staying out in the Atlantic Ocean. But that's just the forecast as it stands right now. We'll keep a close eye on it for you. The Caribbean's in good shape, no problems in the Gulf of Mexico either, where skies are fair, and for a change off the west coast of Mexico, conditions are all quiet except for a few clusters of thunderstorms here and there. Back to the lower 48 we go, and a couple of different weather stories for you today. One is the dissimilar air masses, the fact that we have cool autumn-like conditions in the north, the heat and humidity in the south, and where the two air masses come together, the battleground, the showers and the thunderstorms, which are widespread now from Virginia west to Missouri and across parts of the southwest, including around Albuquerque at this hour and Salt Lake City. In our nation's capital, it's raining, especially on the south and west side. Down around Fredericksburg in the vicinity of Richmond and Charlottesville, showers and thunder showers, lighter showers up near Baltimore and Philadelphia at this hour. It's dry in New York City and Boston, since an area of high pressure continues to dominate the weather for you. And in upstate New York, it's cooled down to the 30s in a few spots around Lake Placid and near Plattsburgh at this hour, as well as some of the colder valleys in northern Vermont and northern New Hampshire. Here's our forecast map for this evening. While it starts out dry in New York City, it could end showery. In Boston, you could have some rain, Hartford and Providence too, overnight tonight and for part of the day on Saturday. Now the story in the south, high pressure, clear skies on the satellite picture, and the main problem today, the light winds, the hazy conditions, and the rather bad air quality in the major cities from Atlanta to Dallas. So take it easy. If you might not want to take a jog today, for example, and if you can carpool, that'll help things out. Meanwhile, in Chicago, the front has slipped by, the winds have shifted, the low clouds are around, but expect them to break up as the day progresses, and a nice day is in the forecast. 73 for the Windy City, 81 for St. Louis, 75 in Minneapolis. Clouding up New York City, showers late in the day. They won't affect your morning rush hour. 74, 78 in D.C. and 71 in Boston, but 99 in Atlanta, 100 in Houston, and only 97 with thunderstorms in the forecast for Phoenix. And now let's find out how the weather changes for your weekend. Cheryl?
Temperatures really have been quite unbearable for the last couple of days or so. Upper 90s, low 100s across much of the Plain States and the Deep South. And still for much of this weekend, we're still talking about 90s and 100s from Oklahoma and Texas and pressing over through Alabama and Georgia. Stifling heat, too, across the Southwest with temperatures over the century mark. But the place to go to escape the heat, the Pacific Northwest, the Great Lakes, and across New England, where you'll be enjoying temperatures in the 60s and the 70s. High pressure, too, will start to build in across the eastern part of the country, making for a fairly quiet start to the weekend. Not much happening around Columbus and Cleveland, so some nice weather conditions, we think, for perhaps some golf or some tennis. But another storm system takes shape across the Midwest. That will spread a swath of showers and storms, and those will slide over across.
Expect fair skies Sunday through Tuesday with temperatures in the 70s on Sunday.
It appears we have a very active afternoon unfolding in the North Carolina area, so we'll be watching for travelers on this Getaway Friday on I-95 and I-85 in particular. Right now, though, the tropics are really revving up east of the islands for the latest. Let's go now to our hurricane expert, John Hope. John?
Right you are, Bill. The tropics are getting active, and we have a brand new tropical storm out there east of Antigua. We'll detail that in just a moment. Let's take you out across the entire Atlantic to set that up. This is a new storm out here. This is Chris, and here's Alberto up here. Alberto, once again, is a hurricane, but moving out over the open Atlantic, not affecting anybody. And we have a very vigorous tropical wave here about 900 or so miles east of the Cape Verde Islands. And that might be our very next tropical depression. We think it's very likely to be one very soon, and also quite a good chance it's going to be a tropical storm at least. Now, Tropical Storm Chris was upgraded this morning from a depression, centered at 16.7, 55.5 west, 410 miles due east of Antigua, moving toward the west-northwest at 13 miles an hour. Now, our best estimate on the track of this storm is for it to continue to west-northwest. We believe its center of it is going to go north of the islands. We're not 100% sure of that yet. That seems the most likely what we can see so far. We can see the circulation center out here on our visible picture getting better organized with time. So we think this will go ahead and strengthen. Right now, we don't think it's going to do that very rapidly, but it will get stronger, we do believe, over the next 2 or 3 days. So we'll have to watch that very carefully. Looking at the showers and thunderstorms around the center, they faded out just a little bit this morning, but we wouldn't want you to make anything out of that. Often that happens out there, which does not have anything to do with the intensity. Alberto was upgraded this morning to a hurricane once again. It's moving toward the north-northwest about 8 miles an hour, and we expect eventually this to curve toward the north-northeast. In any case, we do not expect this to affect any land at all. It's expected to clear everything as far as land areas are concerned. Looking at satellite pictures, certainly a very well-defined eye, kind of large, but getting a little better organized with time, so we think it's very likely this will strengthen over the next day or so somewhat as it moves to the north out over the open water. Now, in addition to Chris, this is Chris here, and here's this very vigorous tropical wave we have down here about 900 miles west-southwest of the Cape Verde Islands. We're watching it very carefully. We think that will be the next tropical depression, and we'll certainly keep you updated on that as time goes by. It's too early today to say whether or not any of these will affect the United States, but we are getting into a more active period, and we're going to have to watch it very carefully, and we'll do that. That's it this time for the tropics. Now let's go back to Bill and get the outlook for severe weather here in the USA.
And John, a lot of that rain would certainly be welcome in a lot of Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina these days. We're going to have to hinge our hopes on a front that will arrive in the area tonight. Already some action starting to fire in western Tennessee, Virginia. The tide water has really been clocked over the last hour, and now we're watching the Outer Banks of North Carolina very carefully here. So Highway 12 will be awash in rain for a while. Watch out there. Virginia Beach, Corolla, southward down to about Kill Devil Hills and Nags Head, all within the hour. There could be some high wind along with briefly very heavy rain. Then I think it all may fill in later on today in North Carolina. So we mentioned I-85 Watch out there in the Triad on Tobacco Road and also in North Carolina down to about Florence, South Carolina. The front's on the go today. The rain will be welcome, but do watch for the threat of severe weather and also heavy rain in New Mexico as well.
Get tickets at the eCenter box office, all Ticketmaster locations, or charge by phone.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel. Currently, the temperature is 63 degrees under cloudy skies. Your forecast. Expect fair skies on Sunday and Monday, and on Tuesday, expect a chance of thunderstorms.
About 10 minutes before the top of the hour, time to check on Storm Watch and in fact take a look at the tropics. And we have a hurricane and a tropical storm lurking out there in the Atlantic Basin. And we have some strong thunderstorms that are pounding portions of North Carolina. We'll get to the thunderstorm stateside in just a moment. We'll start you out first with a big look at the tropics, showing you almost the entire Atlantic Basin here. And it's pretty easy to pinpoint our hurricane. Once again, this is Alberto that continues out here in the Atlantic. And it has set a new record now for longevity as far as August storms go for a named storm. It's the longest that we've seen a named storm last out here. For some 14 days now, I believe. And as we take you a little bit further southward, here's our tropical storm barely maintaining that status. It's been undergoing some shear, but it will certainly have an opportunity to strengthen further with time. And another area that's pretty far to the south, but also stands a chance of development. Let's take you region by region here, and we'll go first to Tropical Storm Chris, which is 325 miles to the east of Antigua. Sustained winds of 40 miles per hour, and it is moving west-northwest at 13. The estimated central pressure at 1,011 millibars. And again, not the most impressive entity out here. Here are the islands that we're speaking of. At this point, it looks like it's going to try and pass to the north of the islands, barely maintaining that tropical storm status as it's been undergoing some shear. And you can see how some of those thunderstorms are getting pushed off to the north and east of the center of circulation. Nevertheless, it's still out over warm open water. Should it survive this shearing environment as it moves off to the west-northwest, it may have an opportunity to strengthen. So, of course, we still need to monitor it, and you should along with us. Hurricane Alberto continues out here, packing winds now of 85 miles per hour, so it's actually strengthened a bit, and it is moving to the north-northwest at 8. Once again, it will get picked up and with the flow and continue its movement out over open water, but very impressive to see this thing still hanging on. It is well to the east of Bermuda at this time. I talked about a second entity out here to the east of Chris. There again is Tropical Storm Chris, and to the south and east of that, we're watching this. This may have a chance to develop as well, and that will be something that bears some watching. The Caribbean, as you can see, is relatively quiet. Typical thunderstorms firing up over the warmer land here around Cuba. Those will dissipate as we get into the nighttime hours. And quiet as it could possibly be this time of the year in the Gulf of Mexico. We'll take you over to the Pacific. Nothing out here to report. We'll watch some flare-ups here around the intertropical convergence zone, but at this time, nothing that's looking too organized. We take you back stateside where the showers and thunderstorms are really blossoming now across the Four Corners region. We've got some rain into Portland and Seattle, and then further eastward, we continue to watch a line of some pretty strong storms ahead of this area of low pressure and its associated front. And the strongest of those storms really affecting you here in the Piedmont of North Carolina. There are about 3 watch areas and now one that extends into the coastal areas of South Carolina, so make that 4 watch areas, and each one of these where we think we might find some of that severe weather. And we have already had reports of a lot of wind damage into Rowan County. Heading out into this region, we had up to, well, we had some sizable hail, but we also had some pretty gusty winds that flipped some planes over at the airport there. You can see how the thunderstorms are encroaching on Wake County and around the Raleigh area. Please take cover immediately. Damaging winds up to golf ball size hail with some of these thunderstorms. So they mean business. You need to get away from electrical appliances and by all means get off the computer. Even down here into Lawrence County, we've had reports of some pretty hefty rain and some hail as well, up to dime size hail. So
Expect fair skies on Sunday and Monday, and on Tuesday, expect a chance of thunderstorms.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Storm Watch. I'm Sharon Results, and we're going to start out by taking a look at the tropics. We have a tropical depression and a hurricane lurking in the Atlantic Ocean. Let's take a look. And again, we're going to find our hurricane evident across the middle of the screen there. That is Alberto, which continues to sit and spin, and it's now been out there for a record number of days for any August named storm, believe it or not. Look at this. It's still going, and in fact, it even managed to strengthen a bit today on Friday. So amazing that Alberto is still an entity out there, starting to make more of a turn. It's already made one loop, and now it's going to be making a turn on back up to the north and northeast, so we'll continue to watch that. But nothing that's going to affect any landmass, certainly not the U.S. and certainly not Bermuda, but still a force out there, isn't it? Further south, we are watching our tropical depression Chris, and yet another disturbance south and east of that may bear some watching in the next day or so. Let's go ahead and start you out first with tropical depression Chris, and if you're just tuning in saying, wait a minute, I thought this was a tropical storm, you're right. It has been downgraded. It actually lost some of its punch. Not very organized at all. West-northwest is the movement at 9 miles per hour, packing winds of 35 miles per hour, and the central pressure estimated at 1,011 millibars. Now again, just to get your bearings, here is Puerto Rico, the Leeward Islands, and here is our tropical depression, and it has had a really tough time trying to get organized. It was very evident at southwesterly shear, pulling the convection or pushing it off to the north and east, so it had a really hard time trying to get that convection wrapped around the center of circulation. It just wasn't happening. And it was so poorly organized, and it had actually shown signs of weakening, that it was downgraded. However, don't let your guard down here. If you're watching from the islands or if you have interests here, it could easily get itself organized, and we could be talking about a tropical storm once again. So you want to keep watching this. The general storm, the general track of this should take it just to the north of the islands, but any deviation in that could bring it closer to the islands or even over them. And you know the uncertainty that there is a lot of times with tropical systems. So we encourage you to keep it tuned here. We'll inform you on what this is doing. And again, in the next day or two, this could once again become a tropical storm. Conditions are favorable for that. We're also watching south and east of tropical depression Chris, another tropical wave, and this one too stands a chance at becoming more organized, remaining somewhat to the south of the shearing environment that tropical depression Chris has been undergoing. So we want to watch this closely as well. Hurricane Alberto, I already touched on this, but here are the latest coordinates. If you're plotting at home, it's beginning to look like almost a complete circle here.
It's 1,000 miles to the west-southwest of the Azores Islands, sustained winds of 80 miles per hour, moving to the north-northwest at 6, and the central pressure at 986 millibars. And there is where it is with respect to Bermuda. So as you can see, it's well to the east of the U.S. There's a look at the Caribbean. Very, very quiet right now. The Gulf of Mexico, I don't think it gets any more quiet than this. Very tranquil indeed. We'll take you out into the Pacific. Intertropical convergence zone is active, but not seeing any formation. No low pressure centers there, so we'll just kind of keep an eye on things. Closer to home, the moisture continues across the west, but the big news this evening has been the severe weather extending on into parts of the southeast ahead of this cold front in that very warm, very humid atmosphere. Just a sliver of a watch area remains, and this actually expires at the top of the hour. Most of those thunderstorms now moving offshore, and that is some very good news. Somehow we lost our Charleston radar in there, but you have to trust me on that. We do indeed have just a few thunderstorms moving toward Charleston. Other than that, things are winding down across the southeast. We'll be back. We'll have more on the potential for strong thunderstorms yet tonight coming up.
Buy a certified pre-owned Lexus with a 3-year, 100,000-mile warranty.
Mike, it's 3 a.m. What are you doing out there?
You won't believe you actually own one. Surprisingly affordable. Only at your Lexus dealer.
Hands dry and cracking, elbows crusty and scaling. Tired of scraping coarse and calloused feet? Just dip it with IGEA Thermospa Paraffin Wax Therapy. Just dip your hands, feet, or elbows in the therapeutic heat wax system to restore your skin to silky smoothness. Now you can have the same paraffin wax treatment used in professional spas right in your own home. IGEA Thermospa's vitamin nourishing citrus wax exfoliates dead, dry skin from your hands. Just dip it and see the moisturizing heat of the paraffin wax enriching your skin. Take that sore, dry foot, just dip it, and look at the amazing difference.